So with Trae Young being one of the most hyped players coming into the NBA, even being compared to Stephen Curry throughout his college career, he had all of this weight on his shoulders to live up to these high expectations. Now with Young officially in the league, he's done more than just live up to the hype, he's already surpassing it. But it's been a long road for Trae and it hasn't been easy. From traveling across the country just to find opportunities to compete playing basketball, to having the added pressure of living up to his own dad's success as a pro. But luckily for Trae, he's had a few helping hands throughout his journey, with rappers like Lil Wayne and Quavo reaching out early to help guide and support him throughout his career. But most importantly, this is the untold story of Trae Young and Kevin Durant, and the impact Durant made on Trae has completely shaped who he is today. Trae Young's early life. So Oklahoma Sooners, having him stay in his home state to debut his heavily anticipated college career. Trae Young's college career. In the beginning, there was actually some controversy surrounding Trae Young and the NCAA. The first time the Young family actually met with Oklahoma's NCAA compliance office, Trae was asked how he knew famous rapper Lil Wayne. At the time, he told the truth. He said he didn't personally know Lil Wayne. The compliance officer then pulled up a photo from a Lil Wayne concert, and there was Trae dapping up Lil Wayne himself. Trae said he was actually called on stage at a show in Oklahoma City because Wayne is a big basketball fan, and Trae felt he was someone a big basketball fan would and should know, and he went up to him. The compliance officer then asked if Trae knew Lil Wayne actually owned a sports agency. This is a problem that could present itself only when you're in the spotlight as much as someone like Trae Young, but the office just reminded him that with the NCAA rules being what they are, Young can't profit from his likeness. It's just surprising how well Trae has handled all of this, the pressure, the expectations, and the spotlight. On February 16th of 2017, like I said, Trae Young committed to the Oklahoma Sooners, and this was the beginning of something special. On November 26th, a couple of games into the season, Trae Young recorded a season-high 43 points and 7 assists in a 90-80 win over the Oregon Ducks. That specific game had his name draw comparisons to Golden State Warriors Stephen Curry in terms of his playing style, shooting threes at a deep range so consistently. When asked about the comparisons to such a great player in today's NBA, Trae said that they aren't necessarily hard to live up to because it's the people themselves that expect him to play like Steph every night. Trae just goes out there and plays his own game, but who wouldn't want to be compared to an all-time great shooter like that? On December 19th, Young tied the NCAA single-game assist record with 22, while also recording 26 points in a blowout 105-68 win against the Northwestern State Demons. It's Young's passing that has most surprised people watching him in his college days, since he had this image portrayed as a shooter only, but he in fact excels at playmaking as well. He averaged just 5 assists in high school, but now regularly passes it, even to teammates who didn't even know they were open. Only 4 players in the last 20 years have averaged more than his 9 assists per game. Was that something he consciously worked to improve? It's just the perception, he said. This is how I've always played. This completely makes sense as he's been labeled the next Stephen Curry before even showing the world his complete game. Throughout his season with Oklahoma, Trae Young rose from being a projected late first round or even a second round pick to being a potential top 3 pick in the 2018 NBA draft. Throughout the year, he was praised from both LeBron James and Stephen Curry for his season with Oklahoma. On January 20th, Young recorded a new career high 48 points on a ridiculed 14 for 39 shooting performance in a close 83-81 overtime loss to their state rival Oklahoma State University. But just a few days later, Trae recovered from that with a 26-point performance while shooting 70% and 9 assists in an 85-80 win over the then number 5 ranked University of Kansas on January 23rd. To say Trae wasn't truly remarkable during his year with Oklahoma would be ridiculous. Young finished his freshman regular season leading the entire country in many statistical categories. Assists with 271, turnovers, something he's not proud of with 161, which I'm sure that he'd probably like to forget. Points, 848 throughout that season. Points per game, averaging 27.4. Assists per game, 8.7, nearly 9 a game. Like I said, only 4 players in history have actually averaged more than that. And assist percentage, 48%. The 811 points that he scored in the Big 12 would actually break the conference's record for most points scored ever by a freshman, which was previously held by his close friend Kevin Durant and Michael Beasley. On March 7th of 2018, Young was announced as the winner of the Wayman Tisdale Award for National Freshman of the Year. At the end of the regular season for Oklahoma, Young was also named the Big 12's Freshman of the Year and was a member of the All Big 12's first team. Young also joined the 2018's top 2 selections, DeAndre Ayton and Marvin Bagley, as the first consensus All-American first team ever to have 3 freshmen on there. On March 15th, during the heavily anticipated March Madness, Young put up 28 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds in an 83-78 overtime loss to the number 7 seeded University of Rhode Island. He became the second freshman to record similar numbers of points in an NCAA tournament game, with his close friend as well in Chris Paul being the first player to do so back in 2004. Following Oklahoma's loss in the 2018 NCAA men's basketball basketball tournament, Trae Young announced his intention to dismiss his final 3 seasons of college eligibility and declare for the 2018 NBA draft. Trae Young's $2 million Adidas shoe deal. Now, at this point in Trae's career, nothing is really surprising. If we're being honest, he's been a legend in the making ever since he was a young age, and finally the world is just taking notice, but he's used to it. He's had hundreds of thousands of Twitter and Instagram followers since he was in high school, which helps explain why he'd need post-game security even back then. He was never necessarily eager to get up and depart from the town he grew up in, but he's been ready since making the NBA was the ultimate dream and goal of all this work he's been putting in. Trae has known his worth forever, whether or not people are first taking notice now or they did back then. At Oklahoma, he wasn't playing like a normal freshman because he spent years making sure that he wouldn't be a normal freshman. He's also not handling the expectation and pressure like a typical 19 or 20-year-old because there was absolutely no chance that he'd turn out to be a typical 19 or 20-year-old. As much as the world looks at him in the spotlight today, he's not just some sudden sensation. Trae's been 2 decades in the making, but most are just surprised because they weren't with him in the gym with his dad and the broom. But being the Oklahoma star that Trae once was, he already began making money moves prior to even being drafted officially. Yeah, he was a projected top pick in the 2018 draft prior to it happening, but anything can happen till it happens. According to many news reports, the Stephen Curry and Chris Paul hybrid of Trae Young has signed a multi-year footwear and apparel deal with Adidas. Trae Young will join a team of established NBA superstars who anybody would be proud to represent with. James Harden of the Houston Rockets, John Wall of the Washington Wizards, Kristaps Porzingis of the New York Knicks, Derrick Rose of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and even Damian Lillard of the Portland Trail Blazers are all signed to Adidas as well as many others, and Trae just joined the party. Now, one source close to Trae actually said that Adidas was offering the most initially and wanted to take the biggest chance on him. That definitely affected the decision-making process. It's reported that this endorsement deal is worth over $1.8 million per year. Coming into the draft, Trae Young was one of the most popular athletes exiting the NCAA in 2018. So with that being said, Trae Young is bringing more than just his on-court abilities to Adidas. His celebrity status and sense of style is something to include. According to Bleacher Report, Trae Young was the most followed player on social media among athletes entering the draft that year. Young currently has more than 1 million followers on Instagram and 200,000 followers on Twitter already. Trae Young's NBA career. Now, prior to the 2018 NBA draft, Quavo of the Migos actually tweeted out that his hometown of Atlanta needs the Hawks to draft Trae Young. With all the hype and expectations spotlight on him, Quavo said, "The culture is behind you, and that's what we need." Interestingly enough, Quavo is a basketball player himself, and even took social media by storm with videos of him playing, even playing in the celebrity game during NBA All-Star Weekend 2018. But his input actually does matter, seeing as the Migos and other Atlanta rappers show up courtside to games for the Hawks and represent. Atlanta originally had the number 3 pick of the 2018 draft, to which they selected Luka Doncic. Now, Trae Young was in fact drafted 2 picks later at number 5 to the Dallas Mavericks, but was pretty much immediately traded to Atlanta on a swap for their pick. The Hawks were knowingly in a rebuild stage, and with all the tremendous hype and potential surrounding Trae, they wanted to take a chance on him, and it's definitely working out. They knew that with that rebuild stage in effect at this point in time, if they had a superstar in the making, other free agent talent might actually consider signing there, and they can actually get back on track to be an elite team in the Eastern Conference like they were a couple of years ago. Trae Young signed his first NBA contract on July 1st of 2018 to the Atlanta Hawks. Now, he even tweeted out saying, "Signed my first NBA contract today. Wow, this is all such a blessing. Don't let anybody ever tell you that you can't do something. Dream and dream big. Hashtag just a kid from Norman," and he even celebrated by purchasing his first car, an Audi R8. He posted a video of it on Instagram saying he was truly blessed. But honestly, this was all just the beginning for Trae. That summer, he even had his game broken down by legend Kobe Bryant, and was of course in the gym with other superstars such as James Harden and Chris Paul, basically perfecting his craft prior to his career even beginning. The anticipation was real to see if the hype behind Ice Trae was real. On October 21st in the Hawks' 3rd game of the season, Young finished with a career-high 35 points and 11 assists in a 133 to a 111 win over the Cleveland Cavaliers. But there was in fact one game specifically so far that woke the world up and caused Trae Young to actually break out. On November 11th, Trae Young went up against LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers in a game that came down to the closing seconds, basically having a playoff atmosphere throughout. With all the spotlight on LeBron and his Showtime Laker team, Trae Young used this opportunity to display his ridiculous three-point range, even knocking down shots close to half court. He attempted a game winner over Tyson Chandler and was blocked as time expired, but nevertheless he still showcased what he needed to, putting up 20 points and 11 assists against the Lakers. On November 19th of 2018, Young finished with a career-high 17 assists with 25 points and 3 rebounds in a 119 to 127 loss to the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, if you know anything about Trae Young, obviously you got that image portrayed by the media of him only being a shooter, but this game specifically already showed he has that playmaking ability of a professional as well, so don't sleep on his all-around game. Now, at this point in the season, the Atlanta Hawks have been under their rebuild stage, losing the majority of their games, having a record of 3-16 at the bottom of the East at this point in time. Regardless though, Trae Young is individually having a great season, averaging 15 points, 8 assists and 3 rebounds on 29 minutes per game as a rookie. Trae Young is definitely a future star in this league. Even though he's putting up good stat lines, the team itself needs time to develop as well. Basically being called the second coming of Stephen Curry, the experience is really all Trae needs at this point in his career. His shot is there and it's adapted very quickly to the NBA. His play style fits in perfect. His playmaking ability is something that not many players have the ability to perfect, but Trae has been showing he deserves to be known for even more than his ridiculous scoring. If even a player of caliber like LeBron James is praising him and saying he's a special type of player, the world definitely needs to take notice as well. But with all that being said, what do you guys think of Trae Young's career up to this point? Will he live up to that hype of being the next Stephen Curry? Let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Drop a like if you enjoyed, but I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.